Well, since this is a 3-day weekend, I finally got a chance to sit and relax and watch some television. I watched an interesting documentary pertaining to some of the more violent acts that have been committed by individuals over the past several years. You know, those people that come in and start shooting up the place and, killing people at random. Well, one of the more recent cases of this, of course, was the Virginia Tech attack. And the question came up, in fact, over the past several years, based upon a lot of these attacks, they've made it such that those people with mental illness cannot purchase firearms. Well, there's probably some value in that. For the individual that's a danger to themselves or others, probably doesn't need a gun. But how do we actually implement that? If you have been considered by the courts to be, have mental illness, a danger to yourself or others, a judge had you committed to treatment or committed to a mental hospital, well, then we have record of that. For you see, anytime you see the doctor or a clinic or anything like that, some of the paperwork you have to fill out deals with HIPAA, the privacy information. Well, the courts aren't subject to that. That privacy law doesn't affect courts or law enforcement. But it does affect other facilities, like your therapists and your hospitals and such like that. For them, it's a matter of consent by the individual. Now, as I said, there are some agencies that don't require that consent. The courts and law enforcement, certainly. You can always tell them. But consider, years down the road, if you decide you're going to buy yourself a firearm, would the issue have ever come up? Would you have ever, one, given consent to have that part of your information being kept track of? Or two, did the state agency doing the background check ever ask? It's one thing if you were put there by the courts, but if you were voluntary, there may not be any record of it, or if there is, no one's ever thought to look at it. So maybe some of these laws, in order to protect society and protect people from themselves, are incomplete. Well, there may be also a flip side to this, though. Do you really want the government to know everything about you, and that you may have had problems 5, 6, 10 years ago, and that you've been treated successfully for it? That's the other concern I would have. One, the safety of the people. But two, how about the dignity of the people who may have had problems at one time, or have since moved on with that part of their life? I don't see this as a win-win situation for either situation. You either have to keep people stigmatized because of mental illness, or you have to run the risk that people who probably shouldn't have violent means be given the opportunity. So, just my random thought for the moment.